Aerobic respiration occurs within cells. It starts with glycolysis in the cytosol of the cell. It then goes through the link reaction, moving into the matrix of the mitochondria. It then goes through the citric acid cycle within the mitochondria matrix. Then it goes through the electron transport chain and chemiosmosis in the inner mitochondrial membrane, producing energy in the form of ATP. In this video, we are going to look at the first process involved in aerobic respiration, glycolysis. Glycolysis itself is an anaerobic process and can be part of the aerobic or anaerobic pathways. As we move through glycolysis, we will keep a note of how many NADH and ATP are used or produced. In glycolysis, we start in the cytosol of the cell with a single molecule of glucose. There are 10 steps in glycolysis. The first 5 steps of glycolysis are called the investment phase, as they use energy in the form of ATP. The first step in glycolysis involves the phosphorylation of one glucose molecule, which is a 6-carbon molecule, into another 6-carbon molecule, glucose 6-phosphate, using the enzyme hexokinase and the cofactor magnesium. This process takes the phosphate from an ATP and releases a hydrogen molecule. This step uses up an ATP molecule, giving us a net total so far of -1 ATP. The second step involves the conversion of glucose 6-phosphate into yet another 6-carbon molecule, fructose 6-phosphate, using the enzyme phosphoglucose isomerase. This reaction is able to go both ways. The third step involves the phosphorylation of fructose 6-phosphate into another 6-carbon molecule, fructose 1,6-bisphosphate, using the enzyme phosphofructokinase and the cofactor magnesium. This process takes the phosphate from an ATP, creating ADP, and releases a hydrogen molecule. The step uses up a second ATP molecule, giving us a net total so far of -2 ATP. The fourth step involves the breaking of fructose 1,6-bisphosphate into 2 3-carbon molecules, dihydroxyacetone phosphate and glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, using the enzyme aldolase. This is a reversible reaction. The fifth step involves the conversion of dihydroxyacetone phosphate into a second glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, using the enzyme triose phosphate isomerase. This is also a reversible reaction. This leaves us with 2 glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate molecules that both move through the remainder of the steps. This also ends the investment phase. The next 5 steps of glycolysis are called the payoff phase, as glycolysis starts to produce energy in the form of ATP, as well as NADH, which is used to produce ATP later on in cellular respiration. The 6th step involves the conversion of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate into 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate, another 3-carbon molecule, using the enzyme glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate dehydrogenase and the cofactor magnesium. This process involves using an inorganic phosphate and reducing NAD+ into NADH, as well as releasing another hydrogen. This is a reversible reaction. This step occurs twice, once for each glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. This step produces an NADH. As it occurs twice, 2 NADH are produced in total for 1 molecule of glucose. The 7th step involves the conversion of 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate into 3-phosphoglycerate, using the enzyme phosphoglycerate kinase and the cofactor magnesium. This process involves the phosphorylation of ADP into ATP, taking the phosphate group from 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate and giving it to the ADP. This reaction is also reversible. This step occurs twice, once for each 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate. This step creates an ATP. Since it occurs twice, 2 ATP are produced. We now have a net total of 2 NADH and 0 ATP, as these 2 ATP make up for the 2 ATP used up earlier in glycolysis. The 8th step involves the conversion of 3-phosphoglycerate into 2-phosphoglycerate using the enzyme phosphoglycerate mutase. This process involves shifting the phosphate group from one carbon to another. This reaction is also reversible. The 9th step involves the conversion of 2-phosphoglycerate into phosphoenolpyruvate, or PEP for short, using the enzyme enolase and the cofactor magnesium. This process involves releasing a water molecule each time. This reaction is also reversible. The 10th and final step in glycolysis involves the dephosphorylation of phosphoenolpyruvate into a final 3-carbon pyruvate molecule using the enzyme pyruvate kinase and the cofactor magnesium. This process involves a hydrogen molecule and taking a phosphate group from phosphoenolpyruvate and attaching it to ADP to form ATP. This step creates an ATP. Since it occurs twice, 2 ATP are produced for 1 molecule of glucose. This takes our net total for 1 molecule of glucose to a total of 2 NADH and 2 ATP at the end of glycolysis. The overall reaction of glycolysis is 1 glucose molecule, 2 NAD pluses, 2 ADPs and 2 inorganic phosphates gives us 2 pyruvate molecules, 2 NADHs, 2 hydrogens, 2 ATPs and 2 water molecules. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, be sure to subscribe and hit that like button.